all the different guest announcements for these conventions. I know some of y'all listen to us, so it's very great to have you here, Miss Taylor.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
I've never been in West Texas before.
Right. How do you think about this climate?
Well, I haven't been out in much. The air conditioning sucks. But I haven't really been outside very much at all. We got in this morning around, I don't know, the flight landed maybe 3:30 a.m. So it was lovely then.
That's right.
Wasn't raining, kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. That's great. So let's start it off. We all know you're a voice actor. So where did you start? Like, what gave you the idea to want to voice act in the first place?
Well, I decided when I was 5 that I wanted to be an actor, and I've not necessarily set out to be a voice actor. It's just that I guess since maybe 1998, most of my job opportunities have been voice related. So my career as an actor, kind of on screen and on stage, took a turn, so now it's mostly behind the mic. But it's certainly not the only thing I do, and it's not certainly all I want to do, but I have great fun and I'm very lucky with the work that I am doing.
That's great.
So, yeah, I guess I did my first play when I was 5, and then I always was in shows at school. I went to college and grad school for acting. I've toured the United States with acting companies. I've just done a ton of things, and I guess my foray into cartoons happened when my acting coach just happened to get a call one day when I had been in working on a monologue, looking for girls who did high-pitched voices. So I had just been there, so he called me and said, there's an audition if you feel like going, here's the place. And so from that recommendation, I got a job, and then they recommended me for other things, and it just kind of panned out from there. I do think a lot of times, whether you're an actor, an artist, a singer, anything in the arts, a lot has to do with networking and who you know, and sometimes you'll recommend your friend for something, and it all kind of works together like that. And I've been quite fortunate to know many talented people that I recommend them, they recommend me, and my career has kind of grown that way. Also with an agent, that definitely helps, but it's kind of, definitely networking has been a big part of it.
Yeah, most definitely. I love that. Yeah, definitely. Okay. So basically, so when Pokemon first came out, I know it's relatively unknown in the U.S. at this time.
Right.
And so, how did you get that opportunity to get to the main character?
I was working on Slayers at the time that Pokemon came, and the same company that cast Slayers was doing the casting for Pokemon. So because of that, I was asked to audition. Okay. And I really don't remember. I think we all auditioned for all the characters at the time. There weren't that many in the very beginning, and then as the show progressed, we auditioned for more and more. Okay. And so I guess it was luck in a way that I already had a job that kind of got me in the door for that audition.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. When first came out, nobody really thought that it would grow in its commercial success.
I don't think anyone had any idea what we were looking at all. Remember, we were just talking today about everybody got those VHS tapes in the mail, and that time when you look at it going, what is this? And the colors were so dynamic, and I don't know, I think it was something that even though no one knew what it was, they liked it. And there's something a little bit deeper, I think, about the show that, I mean, honestly, it was, I think, really just a big commercial for the video games and the card games. But there was something about the show, there was heart to it, and I think within the episodes there was always something that we could all relate to. And I think that was what maybe drew us all in. It was a little bit more than just a big ad.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Oh yeah. So are there any specific episodes that you absolutely love to do?
Every single day I went to work, I loved working on that show. I loved playing Ash because he's such a positive character who certainly stumbles along and doesn't know what's happening, but figures it out, and with his friends he kind of pulls it all together. He's constantly learning and figuring out how to be a better person, even though he's not really conscious of it. I loved every day. And I think the parts of the episodes that I loved the most were the ones that had the most emotion. I mean, I think we all know Butterfree, being set free. The fact that you could have something that was so real and so emotional. I just loved that. And his bond with Pikachu, that they could disagree and then come together and work together, and it's real. Everybody has had that with their siblings or their parents or their friends, where you're not getting along all the time, but you figure it out. So those were not a specific episode, but specific moments.
Yeah, definitely. I remember all those moments, especially growing up.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I know you mentioned about the VHSs, like back in the day. Remember, like back then, we actually had theatrical releases. How did it feel to have participated in something that got a worldwide theatrical release?
Amazing. So when I go to work on any show, I go to a little booth somewhere and we work away on something, and when I'm doing an audiobook, I sit in the studio for 6 or 8 hours at a time recording, and you never really know if anyone's going to listen to it or see it after that. You have no idea what's going to happen to it. And that was quite true for Pokemon. We were working away on it, and we didn't even know if it was really going to go on TV. So first it started at 6 a.m. and then it went to 6:30, and then riding on the bus in New York, kids were starting to play the card games and talking about it, and so you kind of felt that there was a buzz about it. But when the first movie came out, I did get to go to the premiere in Los Angeles.
That's cool.
And my daughter was with me. She was 1 at the time, and it was an incredible experience. I'd never walked on a red carpet before. Nobody knew that I was in the movie because I was a voice actor in it, and but it was extraordinary. And just to know that you were part of something like that. And at that time, it opened on a Thanksgiving weekend, and it was the biggest box office ever. And that, when you think about that, movie prices were cheaper then, and most of those tickets were bought by children, which were half price. That was a pretty big deal.
Oh yeah, that's
so. Yeah, I thought it was amazing.
That is so cool.
And it's still going on. I worked only on the first 8 years of the show before we were replaced, and the fact that it still goes on, that Pokemon Go is out, and we're still talking about Pokemon, that now people can experience Pokemon in a way like I did at work, going out and catching them, and I have to admit that I find something pretty cool about seeing a Charmander in the hallway of my apartment building, It's pretty neat.
That's so great. So you still follow the series as it goes?
I do not.
You don't?
I do not at all. Once we were replaced, I haven't watched the show since then. I did try to watch an episode right after, and I just was crying. I mean, it's so hard for me to see the faces of characters and specifically Ash, that I just loved with different voices. It's just too hard for me. I love Pokemon and I miss it very much, but I'm not mature enough to be able to watch it and kind of separate myself.
Yeah, I know the feeling, because I'm an artist myself, and so whenever I draw and I finish a project or something, I don't like to just go back and just always look at it. I just move on.
Right, you have to move on. We all do.
It's always important.
But your heart is with your work.
Exactly.
And if you don't commit 100% to something, I think, especially with acting, the audience can sense that. We were performing Midsummer Night's Dream on tour, and it was a small girls' high school in Brooklyn, and we were in the cafeteria, flat on the floor, and with just a bare minimum of scenery. And the girls were cheering on all of the lovers. I don't know if you all know Midsummer Night's Dream, but read it later. It was just, if you're committed to it, it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, people can follow it and they can commit themselves to watching it, I think. And that was a huge lesson to me, and I think in everything I do, I think about that even if your character's weird, or you don't necessarily agree with who they are or how evil they are, you have to find something great about them and play it and be that 100%, and then I think the audience can connect to it. So it's hard when you're that connected and then you no longer play a role. It's different with Batman, maybe, that has had so many different iterations, and all of those Batmen can get together and have a good time, but it's hard for me, since we didn't have a choice to go on with the show, it's harder for me to kind of just be like, yeah, I always watch it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just not mature enough.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we also noticed that you voiced Sailor Pluto in Sailor.
Yeah, I just started on that, so I'm not in the original cast.
Okay.
We just started redubbing the old episode, and we're doing Sailor Moon Crystal. So I'm thrilled to be part of that. I mean, it's just because it has such a legacy, and it's an amazing show, and with all those great girl roles, it's just really cool to be part of that.
Yeah, and it looks really nice too.
Yeah, especially Crystal. The animation is different and really vibrant, and the cast is amazing. So
that's great.
Yeah.
What's it like working with like all these different people?
Well, when you're dubbing something, you're working with all these different people in your mind, because you never hear what they've done ahead of you, and you never see anyone. You go in the booth and you're by yourself, and you just have the engineer and the director there. So I imagine how they would say the other lines, but I really never see the whole episode. I only see my lines in an episode when you're dubbing it. When you do something prelay, which is where you record first and then it's drawn later, oftentimes we all work together, and that's really great. There's still not a lot of time to goof around, but it's more of a play, a radio play. You know, you can work off of each other.
And I know that it's not easy to do, especially going from Japanese to English. Well,
the thing is, if you have a great team of people working on it, like we did with Pokemon, for instance, you have someone who adapts the script from the original language, or who translates, and then you have someone who adapts it, and they are meticulously looking at the lip flap and working it all out, so by the time you get the script in the booth, it's not so hard. You still have to fit the flap, but you're not inventing things. Other shows where the adaptation is not as tight, you're kind of coming up with other things to say to fit the lip flap. So the language part isn't so bad, but the challenge of fitting the flap can be really hard, or can be, not that bad.
Oh, that's really cool. And then we also know that you did the 2003 Ninja Turtles. You were April O'Neil. Yeah,
from 2003 to 2007.
Yeah.
Really great. Another amazing legacy that we all know and love for so long, and just to play April, who's such a strong female role model in a sense. I mean, isn't she like the science and technology role model of women in STEM?
Oh yeah, definitely. Do you ever see yourself like relating to April in some certain cases of life? Or?
Well, I think no, because I'm not very good with the computer. She's very good with that. I don't spend a lot of time on the computer, and she's a whiz. I do think that in terms of trying to be courageous and speak up for what I think is right, I think in that way I emulate her, or try to. She's certainly she's an equal with that cast, and that I try to be myself and treat others in that sense. So in that way, I relate to her.
That's really cool.
And my hair's redder sometimes, depending on, so yeah, in that way too.
That's great.
All the important things.
So I know when I've been going out to some of these cons, I always ask for like people who are interested like in different careers, especially like acting, voice acting, things like that. Do you have any advice for anybody who is thinking of an acting career?
Yeah, I think again, similarly to anything that you want to do in the arts, I think first of all, most people think that, well, so we all have a camera on our phone now. So in a way, everyone's a photographer. But really, to be a photographer, you still need to study to really work within the art of that. I think the same thing with being an actor or an artist. You need to study as much as you can. Oftentimes, there's always a story of someone who said, oh, I just feel like being an actor, and they get cast in something. But normally, that is not the norm. I think to be a happy artist, actor, musician, you really want to study and understand as much of your art as you can, and work all of your talents. I think the best actor is a smart actor, so I certainly encourage people to stay in school. I think learning as much as you can about everything, because I'm sure as an artist you would agree too that there's conversations you have about politics and about science and birds and ecology. All of that stuff factors into who you are as an artist and how you choose to express that.
Right.
Also, you need to be able to talk to people at parties, to network, so you need to know as much as you possibly can on any subject in a way, and also be willing to learn, because we're all constantly learning. So the first is, I think, be the best that you can be in your chosen field. For me, as an actor, I've studied, I went to college and grad school for acting. I acted in plays all through elementary school and high school. I played soccer, I did stage combat, I've done singing and dancing and, you know, all of that stuff. And then I've done a million different roles, like, I mean, jobs, odd jobs, face painting, waitering, all of that. So be the best that you can. The second thing is you want to get a demo so that you put together about a minute of what you do so that you can send that MP3 out to people. If you look on voicebank.net, there's some great examples of what people are doing for their demos. So you have that, and then the third is networking. Meet people, work with people. You never know with whom you can collaborate or who might recommend you for something or where some job opportunity might come.
Yeah, that's really good. I like all the points that you made over there.
Thank you.
Okay. Were there any struggles, like, I guess whatever role you got, was there anyone that you kind of had a bit trouble trying to get used to?
Well, I think for myself, I really like to just dive in and really try to figure out who the character is and become them in a way. So I don't think I've ever had any huge difficulty with anything. Certainly if I do a role at one point and then I come back to it much later, luckily I can hear a reference, and that is a great way for me to key back into who the character was. If I hear the voice, then I can remember all the reasons I decided to be that, you know, to choose that voice or whatever. I think the most difficult thing is just finding work, honestly. It's getting work. I have millions of auditions and few roles that I'm cast in, and it's getting used to that rejection in a way, and how to put yourself out there all the time and know that you're not going to get every job, but still invest yourself in that. So that's probably the most difficult. Is I don't know, there are a few fields where in a way the better you get doesn't mean the more jobs you get, or any job security or anything. So that's the biggest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can relate to that, especially because I'm a graphic design major. And so, like, it's a growing competitive field, especially like when you're going into acting and voice acting and that sort of field. There's going to be more and more people every year as they pass by.
That's right.
And so, yeah, there's going to be a lot of roles.
But there's more and more work too. So the point is, I think you always follow your passion, follow your dreams. You try to be the best, and then in that way, you're just working. You find work, you make work, you know, you just keep going.
That's really great. So speaking of the different type of jobs and roles again, how do you, like, if you were to start preparing for a role or a job, what do you do, like, how do you start your day?
How do I start my day? Well, I live in Los Angeles now, and I still work with people in New York. So sometimes I have a session in my little home studio closet at 6:30 in the morning. So sometimes I have to get up earlier and kind of warm up. I have to make sure that I do some vocal exercises that aren't too loud for the other people in the apartments around me. And stretch out, and you have to get, for 6:30 in the morning, you have to sound as if you've been up like it's 12:30 in the afternoon. You know, you still have to be full of energy, and so I do that, and then sometimes I get a job during that day, or sometimes on a Monday I can wake up and have no work, and then work fills in as the week goes on. So I'm not saying I start my day with uncertainty, but very often I do. Sometimes I'm recording an audiobook, so maybe I start recording at 9 a.m. and I usually go for let's say 9 to 4. And with certain books, it's maybe 2 or 3 or 4 days of that in a row. And that kind of thing is the most difficult, because you have to sit and you really can't move at all. Because all of that sound is picked up by the mic. So those are kind of my days. Sometimes I have a patchwork of sessions. and sometimes I have huge, long sessions.
Oh,
and it's really just me figuring out what can I eat in between so I don't take a long break.
Right.
So
That's
really technical things.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's mostly the questions that I have personally.
We can open them up to the...
definitely. Open it up to the audience.
Yeah, what should we do? Should we go down and ask? Do you want to, you want to go down and see if people want to come up? Should I?
You want to come up?
I guess.
Don't take all the mic.
Yeah, does it reach over there? Do you want to take this one? This one has a long string on it. Or switch. If you have a question, if you want to come up a little.
Where?
Great questions. Oh, just to there, the corner there. Tevin will come down.
All right. Let's see what this is. Okay.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm Tevin now. Very
Okay,
cool.
here's the first question.
Okay.
What industry of anime dubbing, not specifically voice acting, would you improve on if you were in charge of one?
What industry? So I do think that, what would I improve on? Gosh, I always think of things selfishly, like I'd like to work more, so that's not really the answer to your question. But I think there seems to be less anime than there used to be. At least in New York there was so much that we were dubbing, and now there's barely anything. In LA I guess there's a little bit more, and then most of it I think is in Texas. So I guess if I could improve on it, I would like more of it to come back to the US so that there was more that we had a chance to dub. Although I'm a fan of the original, whatever language it's in originally, so maybe that's I don't know. Maybe it's not the best wish, but...
You're talking about anime from LA versus in New York.
Yeah, there isn't as much to be dubbed at all in New York. A lot used to be coming out of there, and there just isn't anymore.
Do you mean studios, though?
I mean studios who are producing it, so otherwise there's no... I used to have a lot of auditions for that, and then I have none.
New York has a lot of studios because the buildings are more, have more rooms there.
Yeah, but the rent is higher, so a lot of studios have been forced to close.
In New York or LA?
In New York. I don't know about LA. But there's a lot of studios now because so many people record at home, many studios have gone out of business. So I think you still really need the quality of having a good room and an engineer and all of that stuff. Unfortunately, let's just do it at home, just do it on your own, that quantity versus quality has hit the industry very hard. And it used to be, even for audiobooks, you would have a director and an engineer, and now a lot of times you record at home and you've got only yourself.
Like your home studio?
Yeah, home studio, yeah. So I think I would rather the business went back to actually having a studio where we really did more quality work, and that you could really finesse a script a little bit more. But the budgets and it makes a time crunch, and you don't have a lot of time to work on anything.
Do you mind elaborating on the quality work you're talking about?
Quality, because there's no directors anymore, and there's no time to really work on the script and adapt it in a better way, a quality way, I guess. So a lot of things I worked on, we had no time to do it. It just had to go very, very fast. So.
Okay, is there anyone else who wants a question? Okay.
Hello.
Do you have the same relationships with your friends in Pokemon and you do in real life?
You know, I am really good friends with Eric Stewart and Rachel Lillis, who played Brock and Misty. I'm really good friends with the woman who played May, because it was me. Just saying, I spend a lot of time with her. I'm not going to say she's my favorite, because Eric and Rachel would get upset. But I've never met the woman who plays Pikachu in Japan. She's someone I would really like to meet, because she's like very, very, I think top of the list on my greatest idols of all time. Yeah, greatest companion, and she's the most talented actress I've ever heard. Someone who can put so much emotion into saying one word all the time. It's pretty amazing. Pika, 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 yeah. Yes, yes.
Was there a certain role that you were offered that you couldn't do because it was too much or something like that? Like a role that you couldn't do that you were offered?
No, I've never had to turn down a role. There's many things I've auditioned for and not gotten that I was sad about because it looked like a great project. But I've never had to turn down something.
Well, what's the one role that you did audition for that you were sad the most about not getting?
Sometimes I have an audition every day, so that's a role every day that I've been sad about that I haven't gotten. So I don't hang on to that at all because if I thought so much about what I didn't get, I would be really depressed and probably not be able to get out of my bed to work. But so I focus on just what I am working on, which is pretty great too. But as an actor, I just want to play every part. So, which is what?
Like you said,
look forward.
You don't hang on to like the ones that you get.
Don't hang on to the ones that got away.
Yeah.
It's a fishing thing, probably.
Yeah.
You're just always looking for the next fish.
Pretty much.
And that's basically me. And I've got enough to eat. I caught a fish yesterday, so like that kind of thing. But you really can't live in the past like that. Because for all of us, if you think about all the sad things all the time, you never move forward. So you got to always think about what your purpose is and what you're going for. And that's something that's really gotten me through a lot of hard times, actually, is that to pull yourself, you can be sad, but to pull yourself out of the sadness and think about, but why am I here? What's my purpose? So that's a deeper conversation, I think, but we started it here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes?
Here's your question.
Do you ever get nostalgic about meeting a young fan and then meeting them again when they're older?
That has been the greatest part of coming to conventions. The fact that I see people year after year, 2 years later, that we meet and then I hear about the job, like some people finishing high school, finishing college, getting a job, meeting their mom, meeting their, hearing about their sister having a baby, all of these things, and then they have children, and then I meet their children. It's been, Pokemon for me started in 1998, and so it's been a long time to meet people, and we all have grown up together. And I won't start crying now, but it's so incredible that a TV show can bring us all together, So yes, that has been an amazing thing for me, and that is what's kept me coming to conventions, really.
I got one more question.
All right, I'm ready for you.
If you could visit any country, what country would you visit and why?
If I could visit any country, well, again, these conventions have taken me to amazing places. This year alone, we were in Dubai, we were in Trinidad, we were in Ireland and England and France and Canada and the United States. So I guess Japan is really on my list because I've never met any of the original actors from Pokemon, and to be able to tell them in their language, which I would learn to go there, how amazing I think they are. I think Japan, then to go to Tokyo, I guess, would be, that's top of my list. Thank you.
So much. Okay, next question. Give it to Ash.
Teamwork.
Great. I have two questions real quick. My first question is, other than the first Pokemon movie,
Yes.
the Pokemon movies are always a big part of my childhood. I love going to the theaters to see them. I want to know which was your favorite to voice and then experience other than the first one.
Right.
Can you give me a story about it?
Well,
Later.
yeah, definitely the first one, I think, because it had the greatest message. I thought they progressively got better, and I think this is a little bit silly, but in the movie with Lucario, when Ash got to dress up in that, like, kind of the blue Robin Hood-like costume, I loved when Ash got to play other characters, and also, like, you remember in one episode when Ash was playing a girl in the perfume shop? So as an actor, to be able to be a girl playing a boy who's playing a girl, all of those things I thought were great challenges. So I guess that movie, which I think was the last movie that we did. That was, I guess that's my next favorite. But they all had great messages. With Celebi, the environmental message, that was an incredible one. I only remember it from Pokemon. I never remember the real names of the movies. I apologize. You know, the Celebi one, the Lucario one? Yeah. And your next question?
And my next one was, can you do the voice for us fans real quick for Ash? Thank you.
I don't know if I could do it or not, but I think you guys are pretty cool. It's awesome here at Permian Basin, which I can barely say, Anime and Comic Con 2016. I hope that was okay.
You're welcome.
All right, here you go. Next question.
Yeah, next.
Hey,
Hi.
we've talked before.
Yes, we have. I've met you.
Yes. One of the things I was wondering is, I'm old. I mean, I'm getting old. And there's everything you've said to me since I've talked to you, I've been able to understand perfectly. Now, is this something that you studied a lot, or is it just a natural quality of your voice?
Oh, well, thank you. Do you mean because you can understand the words I'm saying?
Yes.
I have studied diction,
Yeah.
and I also try all the time to pick up other people's accents wherever I am. So I work on speaking a lot, and also because I narrate audiobooks, I have to really work with all different, well, pitches obviously, but I didn't go to sleep till 4:30 this morning, so my mind is a little slow. But to work with different rates of speech and all of that, and really understand how people talk and all of that, and really communicating, I guess. So I have worked on that, but also I think because we're really talking, and really communication is really more about listening than talking, and so I think in a way we're able to just talk and listen. And this is such a wonderful convention because we have time to just chat, and it's real, and that I think aids us in just speaking to one another. So not just that I'm speaking clearly, but I think we're actually talking to one another.
One of the things I wondered is, when you do voice these different characters, do you change your voice? I know you would change the pitch, maybe the intensity, but do you have, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, do you use any kind of a device to help change your voice?
No, I don't.
When you need to do that?
I don't do that. I think sometimes they could, on those weird things, they would put something else on there. I don't do that myself, but I do like to fade my own things out. I love to do that. But really,
I could be talking up in here, and then maybe I could drop without it here, and kind of,
or Sailor Pluto is very low, and I can just switch around inside there like that. When I narrate a book, I'm the narrator, and then I have to talk, she said, and kind of go into all the different characters. Within a book, you flip back and forth, like you read, in bed at night to your kids. I have to do that in front of a mic. So you don't stop and switch things around, you just kind of do it in a fluid way. When you're doing a cartoon, you can do, like with Pokemon, we did all of Ash, and then all of May, and then all of Ash's mom. So there wasn't a chance to flip back and forth with those.
Did I understand you to say you had to learn Japanese?
No, I would learn some Japanese if I went to Tokyo, because I would want to actually say how awesome I think they are without the need for a translator. I work on Mango Languages. I'm the American teaching Americans other languages, and the bad side of that is I only ever read the American lines. So that, I think they are working towards 180 languages within that program, and so I should at least learn some of them, I think, at some point. Yesterday in the airport, I was using my Google Translator because my French is so bad, and a woman traveling, we were stuck in the airport because of the storms for a very long time, and this poor woman didn't speak English, she really only spoke French, so my daughter and I were lamely talking French to her, and then I could just use my phone and Google Translate they don't know if we're going to take off, we're waiting 5 more minutes, and I could at least use that, but it really made me know that I need to speak more than one language fluently.
All right, well, I guess that's all the time we have now. That's all the questions.
Gee whiz.
Yeah, time really flew.
I will be at my table, so if you have other pressing questions, I want to thank you. And I want to thank you too. Yeah, me too. Okay, thank you guys so much. Have a great time at the show. It's really awesome.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out here. Let's give one last round of applause for Veronica Taylor!
Great job. A nice round of applause for Tevin as well.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Woo!